So about 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That came after a few years of back surgeries and procedures and things. I think there were 28 of them total. I was basically at the point where if you think it'll help, do it. And they told me, I'd never be able to bend over and pick up my kids again. I've never slept. My mom jokes that the only time I slept through the night was the first night from home from the hospital. I remember when I would wash my hair, because it was mostly in my scalp, that it was just tears. I would just cry. It was just so painful. I felt so good. And I know, what it feels like to feel bad. And I wanted everybody to feel good. I literally want everybody in the world to feel as good as I do and to have as much energy. I hardly ever sit. So this is the longest I've sat all day.
Hey folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. Hey, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic disease and you're tired of just managing symptoms with potions, pills, and procedures, I want you to check out Revero.com. Our team of dedicated professionals is committed to tackling the root cause of your issue and finally getting you healthy. Hurry up, though. Our spaces are filling up very quickly. So anyway, well, welcome everybody. We have Jenece with us today, a.k.a. apparently Carnivore Granny, who I like your shirt, by the way. Well, Jenece, maybe start with a little bit. Where are you located, if you don't mind? What part of the world are you in? And maybe tell us a little about your background.
Yeah, I'm in a tiny town in Arizona called Maricopa City, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
That's what Maricopa County is named after. Maybe named after that, right?
Yeah, we're south of there. Yeah,
okay.
Different county. Yeah, been here for 15 years and love it out here in the middle of dairy cow land.
I lived in Surprise, Arizona for a little while up there, near Phoenix when I was in the Air Force. I was up there at Luke Air Force Base for a few years, but it's nice. It's nice. This time of year is beautiful. I mean, gosh, January is the best time of year to be in Phoenix. I got to say for sure. Well, let me just Carnivore Granny. You don't look like a grandma. Are you really a grandma?
I am. I'm really a grandma. We have the second one coming in the summer. So
wow,
yeah.
Congratulations. How old are you now?
I'm 46.
46. Okay. I'm still on my just kids, and I'm 58. So I got maybe by the time I'm 70, I might be grandpa, but we'll have to see. Well, I guess you've got a story to tell. I think I've seen you on X. I think I've seen your account or something like that, perhaps. And I know you got quite a stuff that's happening. So maybe you can just tell us about your health and your journey and how things have went.
Sure. Yeah. So about 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That came after a few years of back surgeries and procedures and things. I think there were 28 of them total, pretty much on the couch for 2 years straight. My kids were little then, and it wasn't fun. I was trying to coach baseball and, be a mom and everything. And I couldn't do anything. My mom would have to come over and do the laundry for me because I couldn't bend over and get the laundry out of the washing machine. I couldn't vacuum. I couldn't do a lot of things. So I was missing out on a lot. Went to many, many pain specialists and doctors. They either told me I was crazy or they couldn't give me an answer. So they popped me full of lots of pills. I was on everything from, Vicodin and strong ibuprofen to morphine to Lyrica, you name it. I can't even remember them all. So I was pretty much a zombie for a good 10 years or so, I would say. I don't know. My memory's a little rough on the I think from all the pills, but my memory's a little rough from the dates. But yeah, it was a long time. And finally, I saw myself in the cycle of doctors and pharmacy and doctor and pharmacy. And I just was sick of it. I was missing all this time with my kids. So I asked my doctor, I said, can I please get off all this medication? And he said, no, you can try to get off some of it, but you'll never get off the Lyrica. You'll never get off the pain meds. And, I basically said, well, watch me. So it took me about 2 years and a lot of support with my family and my husband, but I finally got off all the medication.
Before we delve into what you did, I want to delve a little more into what was going on. Because you said 28 procedures. I assume a lot of those are injections, I would imagine. Maybe you had some like selective nerve block injections and all that type. So a lot of it. What was it? And you had a surgery? Did they do some sort of discectomy or what was the surgery related to?
They did all kinds of stuff. They were like pulling like biopsies and all kinds of stuff. I don't honestly remember that it was so long ago, but most of it was like nerve blocking and cortisone. And I was basically at the point where if you think it'll help, do it. And at the end, they wanted to put in like a simulator or something in my
Spinal
back.
cord stimulator. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And they told me, I'd never be able to bend over and pick up my kids again. I'd never be able to work out. I'd never be able to write, do all these things that I wanted to do in life. And at that time I was in my 30s. So I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. You're not going to stop me from living life. So yeah, so I just kind of did it on my own.
So just, so you get diagnosed with quote unquote fibromyalgia, which is it's kind of a weird diagnosis anyway. A lot of physicians don't even believe it. They think it's just a mental health issue. Let's put some antidepressants in there. You get to see the pain management specialist and they're like, here's all the opiates and narcotics, the anti-inflammatories, here's all the injections. You run through that for a decade or more. And the progress you made during that time was what? How much progress how successful was all that intervention?
None. It was none. There was no progress. It just kept getting worse, and I would see chiropractors and everything that I could imagine, and nothing made it better.
And during this discussion, was there any thought about what was the etiology? Why did you have this problem? Was there any discuss why do you have did you ask why do I feel like this? What's going on? And did you get any answers about that?
No. They could never tell me. It's just pain that comes and, oh, well, your aunt had fibromyalgia, so that must be it. Or, it was just, and one doctor, even, I was crying in her office. I was trying to find a new doctor to, help me, give me any sort of relief at all. I'm crying in her office and she just tells me that I need to go to rehab, that I'm an addict. I'm just like devastated. Like, I don't want this life. I want to be off of this, So that really crushed me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, because, they tell you, well, you need to be on all these pain medications. And then they're saying, well, we don't want to really prescribe you these pain medications because you look like an addict or so. I see that where it can be very frustrating. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're dependent upon. Did you develop some level of dependence on pain medications at some point?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I was definitely, to the point where you're counting down, okay, pharmacist, let's go, and the alcohol too, the alcohol just kind of kept ramping up and up and up. And during this time I was in grad school and becoming a special ed teacher. And when I started working, I couldn't work, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I want to be down with the kids. I taught preschool and I wanted to be down with the kids and I just couldn't.
When you say the alcohol, was that something that occurred as you developed more and more of this pain, or was it something that you'd done prior to that?
It's been around, in and out my whole life, but it definitely ramped up with the pain, because it was just numbing the pain. I was just desperate for anything to numb the pain, and my eating was garbage because I didn't feel like cooking, and, it was cereal all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, healthy whole grains and heart healthy cereal. It's good for us, right? Was there anybody that suggested any of these during your journey? Was there anybody that said, hey, maybe you should go plant-based or low fat or change your diet? Or was that ever discussed or even part of the equation?
No, I was what I classify myself as fat skinny. So I didn't look unhealthy. I definitely, now I look back and I can see the inflammation and I can see, all that, but nobody really talked about my diet at all. Just make sure that I kept eating because you need food for the medication. That was pretty much the only talk of food there was.
And you would have seen maybe primary care. You would have seen, pain specialists. What others were there? Other specialists that were involved in this situation?
I saw neurologists because I developed neuropathy. I saw so many primary care doctors just trying to find somebody. We have up in the city in Phoenix, there's many different like pain management facilities. And so I was just going through Google, just picking one after another. I'm like, okay, you can't help me. The next one will help me, and my insurance probably loved me a lot for that. But okay. Yeah, I was trying everybody that I could, but they just kept sending me to more pain specialists because it was just pain, just overall general pain. And, they weren't doing anything to help really.
Yeah, when you have this constant unremitting pain that you maybe get temporarily numbness from medications, that has to take a toll on your mental health. Was that fair to say that it affected your mental health at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And decision making. Like I was just making really poor life decisions and just depressed. And, my kids were my life and, not being able to play. I had young boys at the time and not being able to roughhouse with them and play ball and all these things. I was feeling like such a bad mom, and having to call my mom to come help and watch the kids and things. It really, I think it's something I still struggle with. Like, and I overcompensate by over helping people because everybody helped me so much. Yeah. So it's definitely something that lingers that I'm trying to work through mentally.
So, I mean, in this decade or so period of time where, you're getting very little help from the traditional medical route, was there any other things you thought about on your own during this journey that maybe didn't work?
Yeah, so once I started going off the medications, we started introducing like CBD and even some medical marijuana into the mix just to try natural, not big pharma. And so that helped a lot. But again, it was zombie mode, and it's just living in a fog, you're just like swimming through water and that's life. And it wasn't working.
Okay. All right. So, well, presumably there's a happy ending to this story. You look like you're doing pretty well these days. So, how did you make that transition into I'm sick? The doctors just tell me I want to be on narcotics the rest of my life. I'm always in pain. Maybe the CBD is helping a little bit, but how did you get to where you are today?
So during our COVID lockdown, I was teaching at home for 2 years, and we and my husband work from home. And so we started doing a lot of, like everybody else, making your own bread and starting cooking from scratch and things and less processed foods. I started to feel better. I started endurance cycling and working out more because I thought that pain was like progress and it masked the other pain. And so I would just be really sore from riding 60 miles a day, and that would numb the other pain. I wouldn't notice it as much. So I started doing that a lot, and I started getting really interested in the history of what, humans would eat. And it's funny because I would always tell my kids when they were young, I said, eat like a caveman. That's the healthiest way to eat. Eat like a caveman. And they'd always laugh at me. And so now it kind of comes full circle because I did a bunch of, research and looking into, more of the historical side rather than the medical side. And so I tease them all the time, like, see, I was right. You got to eat like a caveman. So that's kind of how I came to it. I was looking at it for a few years before I even mentioned it to my husband. He has some health issues as well. And so I kind of wanted him to come to it on his own. We both are heavy researchers. So one night he came in, he's like, have you heard about this carnivore diet? And I'm like, yeah, sure have. I was kind of waiting for this conversation. And he goes, we should really try it. I said, let's do it. And that's right when we started. And it was no looking back. And that was June of 2023.
June of 2023. So you're about a year and a half out from that.
Yeah.
You said you're cycling 60 miles a day. That's a lot of cycling. Were you doing that for many, many years, even while you were even at the lower points? Were you still trying to keep up with the cycling?
No, I was the lowest points. I wasn't doing anything. As I started to come off the meds, I started implementing like yoga in the morning to get my body moving and to move my joints and things. They were so stiff. And so I did that for many years. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I can join a gym or start doing push-ups or, something. I felt like I wanted to do something good for my body from all this bad that had happened. So I started doing push-ups, and then I started kind of going to the gym a little bit, and and I started riding my bike more. My whole family loved to sleep in, and I always get up early. So I had all this time in the morning when it's cool in the summertime to go riding. And so I just start riding, and it just kind of progressed for, the miles just kind of kept piling on. And I decided to do a century ride. And that was in September of 2021. So I was way before carnivore. And I did a century ride, and I was, it was great, but I was in pain constantly. I was in pain from either the fibro or the riding, and I was just trying to outride the pain, I think, at that point, but yeah, I don't do it as much anymore because I'm too busy, but yeah, it was fun.
How was your sleep during all this time when you're in this pain all the time? Did you sleep well or not very well?
No, I've never slept. My mom jokes that the only time I slept through the night was the first night from home from the hospital. Because I never sleep. And now I need a lot less sleep. And so I'm awake and it's time to go at, 2, 3 in the morning and the rest of the house is asleep. So I'm trying to like stay up later to kind of sleep in a little longer. But yeah, it's my sleep before was, unless I had some strong pain meds to kind of help me through the night, it was garbage. But now it's such deep, wonderful sleep. I love it.
So you said June. I think you said June of 2023. You discover, or your husband mentions carnivore. So do you guys immediately jump into that, or how did that transition go?
Yeah, we immediately jumped in. That night we had, he cooked dinner. He did most of the outside cooking. So he does all the grilling and he cooked dinner. And I think we had I think it was just a steak. And I remember looking at the plate going, wow, this is weird. There's no sides, And at that time I hated bacon. I just absolutely hated bacon. And so there wasn't really like a side or a sauce or anything. So I melted some butter for a sauce to dip my, instead of A1 sauce to dip my steak in. And so it took us a little bit. Like we floundered in the beginning. I would still have to take a banana out when I would go on a ride or something because I would bonk so hard going into that transition phase, into fat adaptation. But once we got fat adapted, man, it's been glorious. Just absolutely amazing.
How long did it take you when you say fat adapted? How long do you think that took you?
I think it took me a while because I was trying to keep up the same routine. I was working out and everything, and I was getting really frustrated. And so I kept eating bananas and I kept eating, drinking protein shakes and, things like that. So I think it slowed it down. It took me a good, probably 2.5 months to finally become fat adapted when I finally went all, realized I could go all in and just relax for a couple weeks.
When did you notice improvements in your chronic pain related issues, your fibromyalgia and whatnot?
My fibromyalgia was gone in 2 days.
Wow. 2 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have felt happy about that. I would imagine, right?
I was thrilled. I remember before when I would wash my hair, because it was mostly in my scalp, that it was just tears. I would just cry. It was just so painful. So I'd only wash my hair, once a week, maybe. And I remember going into the shower that day and I'm like, okay, preparing myself. I'm going to wash my hair. And I go to wash my hair. I'm like, oh, this feels good. The water felt so good because before it just felt like ice picks and, stabbing me. And so the water felt so good. I remember standing there forever going, oh, I'm cured. I'm just cured. And that did it for me. And I also had chronic shingles. I know there's a fancy name for it, but I called it chronic shingles on my arm for about 8 years. And it wasn't the rash, but it was the pain. And so I couldn't wear anything with long sleeves or anything. And so it took about a week for that to go away. And I remember putting on a jacket and I went, oh, I can wear this and it doesn't sting. It doesn't burn. It's just so freeing.
Yeah, I would imagine that would have been, quite wonderful when that occurred. So, I mean, you like get your life back for the first time in maybe more than a decade at least. So, I guess when you reflect upon like all you went through, all the, ineffective treatments, it's got to be a little bit frustrating. I mean, obviously glad you discovered it. I mean, you could have kept persisting on and on and on the rest of your life, like many people do, like most people do, to be honest. How did it feel to you when you discovered that, look, all I had to do is this simple, stupid diet, eat some steak, don't eat garbage, and all of a sudden years and years of pain and suffering and agony and pills and procedures, and I don't know how much money you spent over the years, went away?
Oh, it was so, I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And I'm sure I annoyed my kids and my parents and everybody around me because I was like, anytime they would have an ailment, I'm like, meat could cure that. Meat could fix that. If you just change your diet. And I had to learn because I I felt so good, and I know, what it feels like to feel bad, and I wanted everybody to feel good. I literally want everybody in the world to feel as good as I do and to have as much energy. And it's so hard to see, friends and family struggle. And so I was, I was the big meat cheerleader. They call me a meat, would not shut up about it and had to learn, calm yourself and watch, everybody has to be ready in their own time. And, now they know. And I'm very big on like informed consent. I think you should know what you're putting in your body. And I think that, people nowadays don't know. They don't know, like, you eat the Lucky Charms and what that is actually doing to you. We're not taught that. And so I'm just like, nope, you got to have informed consent. You can do whatever you want after that, but you must know this first.
Well, honestly, with a lot of the foods, I didn't realize this, but like in the last 25 years, there's been, hundreds, if not thousands of chemicals introduced to the food supply. And we don't really know what it does. It wasn't really thoroughly tested. It was just kind of like, yeah, we think it might be safe. So we don't even know. There's no even informed consent. You're like, we don't even know what this stuff does. Meat's been around for a bit longer than that, I'd say. So we have a better idea on that one. But so the reception, obviously you're astounded by how good you feel. You're telling other people. What is their response to you eating just a bunch of meat? Are they like, this can't be healthy, you're going to get sick? Some obviously people have noticed the transformation. I assume change in mental health, personality, capacity, all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I've always been the, black sheep of the family. And so I've always kind of done the odd things here and there. And they knew I was desperate for relief. So they're very supportive. At first it was kind of like, really? You're only eating meat. Okay. All right. This won't last long. I know they thought, okay, this won't last long, because I did love a good salad. Who doesn't love a brownie? All these things. But yeah, after that, and then they were pretty supportive. Even some family members have made a little bit of changes here and there. But I don't think it wasn't until we went on a cruise to Alaska with my parents and my siblings and their spouses, and I hadn't seen them in years, and so they really saw, the difference. And even my mom was like, "This is the old Jenece. This is you when you were a kid." And so now they're way more supportive, and they see, when I do have something off carnivore or something, they see what happens, and it's like an immediate reaction, and I'm, back to pain or stomach ache or whatever. So no, they're supportive now. At first it was kind of like, oh, she's doing something crazy again, but they definitely see the change and are proud of me, I think.
So of all the things that you had tried, since you were diagnosed with the pain issues, has this been by far the most effective thing you've been able to do?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll never go back to anything else. This did it. This, cured the incurable, I say.
So let me ask, just because some people have different interpretations of what a carnivore diet actually is. What does that mean to you? What do you eat on a sort of, or how did it start, and have you changed a little over the last sort of 18 months or so that you've been doing this?
Oh yeah, it's changed a ton. We started with all meat on the table, just we would eat any sort of meat. Steak was always my favorite, even as a kid. So that was always, a given, but we used to eat a lot of fish, and, the seasonings went away about a week into it. That took about a week to kind of realize, yeah, you can eat just salt, and be okay. I went down to lion diet for a good 3-ish months, just beef, salt, water. That was great. And butter. I did add butter because I need the extra fat.
And you did that for what reason? Just to further refine things?
Yeah, just to clear everything out and just to kind of start with a base. On a side note, my son was vaccine injured when he was a baby. And so he had to go on an elimination diet. He was in medical quarantine for 2 years. So I kind of knew how to do that whole, elimination diet and then build it back up. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so I introduced bacon, which I love it. I'm absolutely obsessed with bacon now, and I hated it to begin with. So absolutely obsessed with bacon. It's so funny how your tastes change. I was eating eggs, but realized that was giving me some stomach cramps for some reason. So I eliminated eggs again. So right now it's just beef, salt, butter, and bacon. That's it. And it's pretty much burger patties and steak once in a while.
Yeah, so burger patties with some bacon on the side or on the top or something like that. Yeah, I had a nice burger patty last night for dinner, actually. So quite good. No, it doesn't sound like much dairy. Well, butter, but no other dairy products in there besides butter.
Not really. My husband makes carnivore ice cream, and I'm a sucker for it. So I will have that once in a while, but maybe twice a month or so. And it's like a tiny, tiny bit. I do react to it. I start to get acne and I kind of get a little irritable, but it's manageable. It's nothing major. So I do have that once in a while. I do notice though, if I have his ice cream before bed, I sleep so deep. So I don't know if there's any relation between the carbs or the milk fat or whatever it is, but it's clean carnivore ice cream. So, I don't know, but I'm like, oh, I need that before bed.
How, essentially being, basically you said beef, bacon, and a little bit of butter and salt and water. How does that affect? Are you still riding like a ton of mileage on your bike still? Are you still doing that stuff?
I'm not riding as much, and that's not because of anything other than time. We have a lot going on right now. We're making huge life changes. And so I just literally have not had time, but I do work out constantly. I do daily yoga and I work out 3, 4, 5 days a week, depending on my schedule. But yeah, I can't wait to get back to riding. I'm hoping after this spring and everything settles, I can do another century ride. I do have a kind of a lofty goal of doing a century ride once a month for a year, but I don't even know if there's literally enough time in my life to do that because it takes, 7 hours just to do the ride. So it's a big commitment.
How, with your exercise, given you're not doing the long cycling that you were before, how have you managed to do that with carnivore? Is your energy good? Do you feel like you have good energy, strength, speed, endurance, all that stuff?
Fantastic. Yeah. I was going to the gym and I was making huge gains and everything. Financially, we couldn't do that anymore. So I've been working out at home and I use like TRX band straps. Man, I see improvement all the time. And I like now I kind of film myself when I work out so I can see my form and I can see the progress of the form, grow as time goes on. And it's so fast. It happens so fast. I've even been, trying to up my protein lately just so I can build some extra muscle for summer coming up. But yeah, it's fun to kind of play with the fat protein ratio and workouts and, to build that extra muscle when I want to, or to add more fat when I want more energy for endurance.
Do you find, you mentioned that you were kind of skinny fat or fat skinny is what I believe what the word you used. Has that changed now that you've gone carnivore?
Oh yeah. I didn't even think I needed to lose weight when I started and I lost 35 pounds. My face is thinned out, like, my shoulders are more muscular, everything. It's just, my body fat just dropped dramatically and my energy just spiked.
You became more of an athletic human, I guess, would be fair to say.
Yeah. And you can get abs without even doing any crunches. They just kind of appeared. I'm like, oh, that was cool.
Hey folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. Hey, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic disease and you're tired of just managing symptoms with potions, pills, and procedures, I want you to check out Revero.com. Our team of dedicated professionals is committed to tackling the root cause of your issue and finally getting you healthy. Hurry up, though. Our spaces are filling up very quickly. Yeah, well, the abs are just that's just a body fat thing. But so you said your husband also is doing it or was doing it or has done it, and he had some health issues. Has that helped him in any way?
He is still doing it. He's still continuing to heal. He's got some long-term stuff going on, but he is slowly healing. He's changed so much. Like, he didn't have any as serious as I do or anything, but boy, he lost a lot of weight, and I didn't think he needed to lose any weight either, but he trimmed up, and his energy and his attitude is just happy. He's just happy all the time. Not that he wasn't unhappy, but it's just like we call it carnivore calm. He's just got that carnivore calm. When stressful situations pop up, you're not like, freaking out. It's just like, okay, we'll get through this. No big deal. It's just, so that was huge for him, I think. Yeah.
What about you? You mentioned, expectedly so when you're going through all this chronic pain and not getting better, you're kind of depressed. Has carnivore helped your mental health as well?
Oh yeah. I smile all the time. Yeah. I just want to be outside and playing in the sunshine and, just life is good. And we've been dealt some really hard blows lately in our family. And it's just, it's like, okay, well, we'll just move on and, tomorrow's a new day and, it's fine. It'll be okay. So it's been nice. I can't imagine going through what we've gone through the last couple of months to like before carnivore. It would have probably wrecked me.
Well,
So
I'm sorry to hear you the negative life events, but it does give you some more resilience. I find it gives me more resilience and more kind of emotional stability, I guess. Downsides. Have you had any downsides thus far since being on the diet?
when we first started, I had to do a work trip and I had to go to Pittsburgh. And it was my first work trip and my first solo trip ever. So I was pretty nervous about eating and having to manage a work. We're an event photographer. And so having to manage the event and food and travel and all that, I was pretty nervous. I thought that was going to be a huge downside. It actually turns out is really easy. It's really easy to travel carnivore, especially now with, all the food delivery services and, you can just go get burger patties anywhere. Pretty much anywhere sells burger patties, and you don't even have to eat. Like I can fast. I could have probably fasted that whole trip and been fine. So there's so many options, and now I make pemmican bars. And so I can take that when we travel. And, it's funny because we've never needed it. I make them and I'm like, well, just in case if we're shooting a long wedding or, have a big event or something. And I haven't needed it because you don't get hungry, and so it's like, oh, well, it's dinner time. Well, maybe we'll eat, maybe we won't. So I really haven't found a downside. I thought there were going to be, especially the social aspect, but I really haven't found one. It doesn't bother me if we go out with friends and they're eating and we're not eating, I don't really care. Food's not entertainment anymore. It's just, I'd rather visit with our friends than, be wrapped around what we're eating. So yeah, it's been great. I really haven't, I think it just becomes your new normal. In the beginning, you're going to think like, oh, this is going to be hard. That's going to be hard. But as you do it and as you just make it your life, it just becomes normal.
Yeah, a lot of people experience some level of, I don't know, entertainment joy with what they eat. They kind of, a lot of their identity is wrapped upon what restaurants they go to and foods they can try. And when they visit other countries, they can try these different foods. How much do you enjoy eating today?
I love to eat. I love to eat. Eating is awesome. And now I get to have my birthday meal every single meal. Like, you pick your special birthday meal every year. Well, I get to have that every single meal. And so I I love to eat. I eat probably 3,500 calories a day. Like I like food. And after a while you don't even miss the old food. You just feel so good.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me about my cheat days. I'm saying, what are you talking about? Every day's a cheat day. I eat ribeyes. So it's kind of like, I truly like it too, as well. You mentioned 3,500 calories a day. You don't look like you're a very big person. I can't tell, what you weigh, but I mean, would you mind sharing your weight and maybe talk about what a day looks like of eating for you?
Yeah, I'm 114 pounds
Mm.
and yeah, I'm 5'4". And so, yeah, I'm tiny and I eat a ton of, I don't really track my calories that often, but I have because people have asked. And so I eat burger patties in the morning and bacon. It just depends on how active I was the previous day on how hungry I am in the morning, and butter. And I slather everything with tallow. I make my own tallow. And so I slather everything with tallow for extra fat. I even dip my bacon in butter. Lunch, since I'm trying to eat extra protein, I'll eat an extra patty during lunch, but I'm not usually hungry. Dinner, we'll have either a few more patties and bacon or a big fat steak and some bacon. So that's pretty much my day every day.
Okay. Well, that's a decent amount for someone, relatively smallish. And I think a lot of that may be directed because you're very active, correct? You do expend a lot of calories in exercise and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm very active. We try to do daily walks or, ride a bike every day. And, I hardly ever sit. So this is the longest I've sat all day.
Have you, I mean, other than obviously, and thankfully your diseases have gone away, put in remission, been cured, however you want to call that, your mental health is better. Any kind of weird stuff you've noticed with carnivore that was like, that's pretty cool or odd or unusual?
Oh yeah, there's so many less dishes. I like that. Cooking is super easy. You never have to think about what you're going to cook. So we spend way less on groceries, way less. I did not expect that at all. And grocery shopping takes like 5 minutes. We pretty much get everything at Costco. It's walk right to the back, get what we need, walk right out. So the time with the cooking, cleaning, and the trash, there's hardly any trash to clean up and throw out. Many times we don't even take our trash bins out to the street because it's not full. There's none in there. Other things I do notice, when every first bite of ground beef, I get the hiccups. Don't know why. It's kind of an odd thing. But yeah, the thing is just the ease it is in life. I can't believe how much time I spent worrying about, do I have all the ingredients? What am I going to make the kids for dinner? And when my granddaughter comes to visit, I feel that again. And it's a reminder like, man, carnivore is so easy because I have to, cook her meals and everything and keep her aligned with what she's been eating at home. And so I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. Or if the family comes over for dinner and I'm cooking like a regular full dinner, for them, I'm like, man, this is so many dishes and this is taking so much time. I just like the easy, throw a steak on the grill, flip it a couple times and you're good to go.
Yeah, I can relate to the trash thing for sure, because when I have people visiting from out of town that aren't carnivore, our trash output will like quadruple. I mean, it's just like, the people may be doubling, but the trash output is like 3 times, 4 times as much. And so it's quite interesting to see that. Do you still see a physician or at all anymore?
No, I hadn't seen a physician in I don't know, 5-6 years probably. I was super curious on getting some blood work done. So since I hadn't had blood work probably since I was pregnant, which was many, many years ago. So I actually found a new doctor and I was quite nervous about going. I was ready for the fight. I was getting myself pumped up, getting my facts and, getting everything ready. And I go in and, she's like, why are you here? I said, well, I just wanted to get some blood work done and it's been a while. And, I told her about the change of diet and she goes, oh, you're my second carnivore patient. And then, oh, good, thanks. She's not going to, hound me or whatever. So we did the whole, blood work and everything. And I go back to have her read it. And she has an assistant come in here with her, whatever he was, I'm not sure. And so they both come in and she's looking with blood work. She's like, well, this is perfect. And she holds it up. This is perfect blood work. And she goes, tell me exactly what you're eating. And so I told her and she goes, well, I've been doing some research and I'm going to do it. She goes, I'm going to do it. I think it's awesome. And she was even asking me about, the high cholesterol and, she's like, so, what is this myth with high cholesterol? Can you explain it to me? And so I kind of explained a little bit in, my silly terms that I know about, the high cholesterol myth and all that. And she was like, that is really interesting. So I just started a YouTube channel. So I'm going to try to get her on my channel so we can talk about, her transition, what she even thought of me walking in, at 46 and not being on any medication and, not really needing her for anything except some blood work,
So she said your blood work was perfect, but I mean, did you have very high cholesterol that was as well or no?
It was right at the top, it was just right there. I can't remember the numbers, but it was just right there at the top where her assistant was starting to say, well, look at, she was starting to be like, well, look at this, statin. And my ears perked up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then she's like, nope, she doesn't need it, so that was kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah. So probably top of the normal range. So probably total around close to 200 or something like that. Would be what the cutoffs would be.
191.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it's good to have an advocate in your side. I was going to say for the people because a lot of people have the doctors, like you mentioned before, you're going to be on drugs the rest of your life. There's nothing you can do about it, except suck it up and just take your pills until you die. Yeah. That type of thing is very frustrating. And fortunately, we have our Revero doctors, which we are in Arizona, by the way, that don't do that stuff. So that's, we kind of get, it. So that's cool. So you are on social media, because I think I've seen you on X, and you're pretty vocal. I think you, like you said, you want to tell the world. How has that been received by you? Or, I mean, I don't know what other platforms you might utilize, but has it been largely positive? Has there been a mixed bag, or what's the story on that?
It's been great. Like, I started on X, and I had an old account that I kind of just wanted to read, things. I wasn't really planning on posting anything. And so I just signed into an old account one day just to kind of see what was going on that platform, and just kind of got into it. I just was really inspired by everybody like you, and they're trying to do podcasts and do YouTube shows to kind of spread the word more. And so I want to be positive, and I want to spread positivity, especially lately. It feels like the world's been pretty negative. So I've just been trying to spread as much positivity as I can. Well, I had the idea, I'm like, well, we're photographers. My husband does video. Why don't we just do a YouTube channel? And so I started a YouTube channel on the first, and I was super nervous. I'm not an outgoing person usually. I like to be behind the camera, not in front. And so I was really nervous about how that was going to handle. And my husband was very nervous for me. And he's like, how are you going to take, any bad comments or this or that? And I'm like, you know what? It's okay, because I know what works for me, and I'm confident. And so if it doesn't work for them or they don't receive it well, that's on them. That's not a me problem. And so it launched, and it's been nothing but wonderful comments. It's been nothing but support and love in the community. I started a Instagram tied to it, a Carnivore Granny Instagram as well, probably taking on too many things at once. But I just feel like, it's World Carnivore Month, and I'm just I feel like a calling almost just to get the word out. And so if I can help one person, I'm happy camper, and that's all I need in this life. I just want to help people not have to go through what I went through.
Speaking of that, you're a granny, so it means you have kids as well, and you got grandkids now. How has this impacted your relationship with your kids? Do you think more about what you feed them? Do you try to influence them? How's that impacted that relationship?
Oh, for sure. It's quite a challenge when my granddaughter comes to visit, because I know what she should be eating, but she's also, on a somewhat standard American diet at home. They try to be as healthy as they can within reason. So when she's over here, she has mostly just, fruit-based snacks, just some fruit, a little bit of fruit. She has bacon. She loves bacon. She loves eggs. So she eats a lot of that when she's here. Or we'll make homemade crackers out of cheese or something like that. My youngest son, who went through all the medical issues back, I remember when we were introduced food, the doctor was telling me, well, everything needs to have preservatives, because that's going to line his gut, and that's going to help him. And I'm thinking, okay, seed oils and preservatives. All right, let's try this, And so all the other kids are eating all of this, salads and chicken and things, and then my son, who's eating all this garbage food. So it's hard for me with him, because he has such a bad, diet because of that. And so it's a lot of mom guilt, but I'm slowly trying to, they've all moved out. So nobody lives at home anymore. They're all on their own. But I'm slowly trying to, be like, oh, why don't you come down and we'll go for a walk in the morning? And then, I'll be like, hey, seed oils aren't so good. Maybe if I send you home tallow, will you use tallow? Things like that. So they're starting to get more receptive on their diet, but they keep telling me, Mom, when we hit 25, that's when we'll do it. That's when we're going to change our diets, but we're going to live life until we're 25. So, I do my best, but like I said, they're all grown and moved out. And so it's what you can do. Lead by example.
Sometimes you need to feel enough pain before you make a change. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing, and I don't, like I said, I don't know if I would have magically go back in time to when I was 20 or whatever. I probably would have said, hey, get away, old man. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, that's probably what would have happened, but we got to keep doing what we can to kind of help people. So you said, you go to Costco a lot. You've got, beef, bacon, butter, pretty easy trip out there. I will sometimes go to Costco, same thing. It's pretty quick. I always kind of swing by and take a peek at what kind of ribeyes they have. I actually buy my dog. I literally buy my dog's meat there. I just buy meat for my dogs. It's one of the cheaper places I can get it. So I just load up on some meat for the dogs. And so have you, as far as thoughts about reintroducing of anything, are you at the point where, I better try some fruit or honey, or I'm worried about my thyroid, or because you hear all these sort of people they're critical and say, oh, well, you're going to crash your thyroid, or you're going to be cortisoled out, or you can't perform without glucose and we need sugar. Has that swayed you in any way?
No. I will. I'm not the perfect carnivore. I will have, a couple bites of a brownie if my mom makes brownies, but it's usually like 2 or 3 bites and then I'm done. It just doesn't taste good anymore. It just doesn't, it doesn't do anything for me anymore. And I can switch that sugar button on and off. I call it the sugar button. So it doesn't hound me after I've had sugar. I don't feel like I crave more sugar or anything. I think I'm far enough away from it that it doesn't really affect me. Ice cream is my weakness, but I try to stick to carnivore only ice cream.
And I've seen a whole, gosh, I've been doing this for so long. I've seen so many recipes come and go. What is the carnivore ice cream? We use some heavy cream, eggs, and maybe some sort of sweetener. Is that how that works? What is that?
Yeah, I think so I had him eliminate the eggs because the eggs were affecting me. And so he does heavy cream, some whole milk. It's like a splash of vanilla and a little bit of honey, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And it really tastes so sweet to me. You probably don't even need the honey.
Yeah. Interesting. So you said, the YouTube channel just launched. You had some good comments on there. Obviously diet seems to have been the most impactful thing for you. And I know you said you were trying exercise, you tried the CBD stuff. What are the things that have been, are you still doing things outside of just what you're eating as far as trying to improve your health or maintain your health rather?
I'm basically trying to eliminate as many chemicals as possible. I stopped using shampoo for my hair. I'm using tallow, using all natural.
Use tallow to shampoo your hair? How does that work?
It's great.
Is it a tallow-based shampoo or just straight up?
Just straight up. It's tallow lotion that I make actually, because we were butchering like our own steaks from the whole cut. So I had all this extra fat and beef to grind. So I grind the extra beef for burgers and the extra fat I make to tallow. And my son has eczema real bad. So I started making and selling tallow lotion locally. And so I was reading up, like you can just put tallow on wet hair and, it takes a transition, but to get all that shampoo gunk off you. But yeah, it's great. And so I'm trying to do that, make your own, laundry detergent. Make your own.
Does tallow lather up, or how does it? I'm just curious about this.
No, I just rub it in my hands and I just put it through my hair like wet hair, and then just comb it.
And then does it come out when you're done? I guess.
No, it just soaks in. It feels really good.
Okay, interesting.
I know it's something I'm trying. So far, I like it. It's working, but we'll see. I don't use makeup or deodorants. I don't use any. I try to stay away from all chemicals, and I really feel it when I do. Like our daughter got married, and so one of her bridesmaids, she's like, "Oh, you need a little bit of makeup," I'm like, "Okay." So she puts a little bit. I'm just like, "Oh, itchy." I can feel the chemical. I can feel it in me. So yeah, I just basically just try to live as natural as possible. I try for, if I'm super busy, 30 minutes of sunlight a day, but it's usually way more. I love to be outside.
Well, you're out in Arizona, so you guys no shortage of sunshine out there. I noticed your shirt says 0% vegan. Were you ever vegan at one point, or did you ever think about that, or what was your thought around? Because a lot of people would say, okay, you could do any diet to get healthier as long as you cut out processed foods, which may or may not be true. I think a lot of people actually need to do carnivore. Do you have any thoughts about I'm eating animals, it's bad for the planet, or any of that? What are your thoughts around that?
So I'm a farm kid, grew up around farms and live in a farm town. I see the turkey vultures surrounding the freshly plowed fields. So I feel confident in that I am supporting wildlife by eating a meat-based diet. For me, I would just go through 1 cow a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know. And, I never was vegan. I just feel like this is the right thing for our environment. I see the fields taking away ecosystems, and I see the dead animals, when I go right on the farms, from the plows and things. And so I think that is hurting our world and earth more than cows.
Yeah, I never, my mind was never poisoned enough to go vegan. So same thing. Like, let's see, we've got a couple more minutes left. Anything else you want to share that we didn't get to touch on that's important to you?
Well, I'd like to share one of the mistakes I made when I started carnivore. I didn't journal. And it still haunts me to this day that I don't have exact timeframes and dates for things. And so I kind of created my own journal, carnivore journal. And so I think that I just want people to journal as much as possible, because you think you're going to remember where you were and you're not, because you're going to feel so good that sometimes it's nice to have those dates and like how I was feeling with this or how I was feeling with that. Or once you start reintroducing foods, okay, I reintroduced blueberries. Now, how does that make me feel? And you can go back and look, so that's my one major tip for anybody, is to journal and track your progress.
Do you, as someone who struggled with fibromyalgia and also chronic pain, do you sort of have any relationship with other chronic pain patients, or is that a community that you still, I don't know if you're ever in a community, but I mean, is that something you have a desire to evangelize to, I guess?
Yeah, I would love to, work with people and help them, get off, all the meds and hopefully get to more of a healthy body. That would be amazing. I'm not quite sure how to get there from here, but that would be amazing. I just want to help people, and if it becomes a job, great. A career, if not, I don't care. I just want people to feel good. And I had a friend that lives up north and that I worked with before, and she had arthritis real bad, and to the point where she was barely able to teach anymore. And so she started carnivore not too long after I did. And I get a text a few months later, guess what? I'm off all my meds, So that feeling just makes me happy, like just warms my heart. And just to know that, you don't have to eat the way I'm eating. I truly don't care, but I feel like you should at least know. You should at least know that this is out there and can help you.
You mentioned one thing before we go. You mentioned that you worked with special needs kids. I don't know if you still do that, but were you seeing anything, I mean, in retrospect or maybe currently, their diets, are they good, bad diets? Does it impact their behavior?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I worked with all levels of needs. A lot of times they put the medically fragile in my room. And I would see these kids. It was a struggle. I actually quit teaching when my granddaughter was born, but I have subbed here and there. And so when I go to the lunchroom and I see them open the lunch boxes, and it's just fruit roll-ups and Rice Krispie treats and, Pringles and, all this garbage, and maybe a sandwich with one piece of bologna or one piece of ham. And, and then you see their behavior after lunch, and it's just like chaos. It's a struggle for me, because I just want to scream and be like, stop it, just stop feeding your kids this. It's okay to take a minute and scramble them some eggs. It's okay to, make them some bacon to send in their lunchbox. So it was hard on me, because I do want to help everybody, and I do want, I hate to see people suffer. And so it was a big struggle to watch the kids eat like that and then watch their behavior later in the day, so I don't know if I'll ever go back to teaching, we'll see.
Okay. Well, Jenece, we've went through an hour now. That's been wonderful. Thanks for the just super interesting discussion, inspiring discussion. Share with us your social media handles, so if people want to follow you and find out some more.
Sure. So I'm on Twitter, or X, I guess now, I'm Carnivore Granny. And on YouTube, I'm Carnivore Granny Chats, and Instagram, Carnivore Granny. So.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.